Welcome to the Lit Mom Podcast, your go-to source for bite-sized literacy tips and tricks. Join me as we explore evidence-based strategies, techniques, and resources that promote strong reading and writing skill development. Get ready to empower your family with the knowledge and tools to navigate the world of structured literacy and unlock limitless potential.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Lit Mom Podcast. In episode 5 of season 2, we are going to talk about keeping those reading skills sharp over the summer. I'm your host, Dev, and in this episode, I'm going to explain what the summer slide is, why it might happen, but most importantly, what you can be doing at home to support your child in continuing to maintain or develop those key reading and writing skills over the summer months. In the next 15 minutes, I have some easy and fun games and activities that you can do at home to ensure that your child is getting in that practice time. However, it's not going to feel like they're in the classroom. We understand that students sometimes need that little break and breather from the class after being in school all year, so we don't want them to feel like they're sitting in a school and having all of these lessons all day. So let's keep it short and sweet and help support them in maintaining those skills that they have worked so hard to develop over the course of the school year. So before we actually dive into today's episode, I would first like to acknowledge the traditional territory in which I am recording this podcast on. I am recording this podcast on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe people, which includes the Odawa, Ojibwe, and Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. As part of this, we continue the conversation around being dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture, and how we are committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect with all First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people. As this episode is airing in June, I think it is important to point out that here in Ontario and in Canada, June is also known as National Indigenous History Month. This is a really great opportunity to learn about the unique cultures, traditions, and experiences of First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people. So the summer slide refers to the tendency for students to lose some of the gains that they have made in school over the course of the year. Research has shown that students can lose up to 2 months of gains that they have acquired in their learning connected to reading skills. Now, I will say that I did a little bit more research on this because I don't believe that the intention is ever to cause panic in families or guardians that are listening. So there are always different sides to the research. I think when we think about the summer slide, the most important thing is if we can support our child at home and continuing to do some activities that are connected to reading and writing, it's going to benefit them when they go back into school, into a new grade. It's not that thing where every day you're sitting down and you're doing lessons or activities. It's summer, it's break time, but it's just being mindful that obviously if we're not in the classroom and we're not maintaining routines, we're not explicitly teaching any new skills or going back and reviewing those skills, then sometimes those skills are going to be forgotten. So we want to make sure that we're giving every opportunity for students to avoid as much loss as possible for all that learning that they did over the school year. I don't think it's surprising to say that literacy is a foundational skill for all learning. If you're listening into this podcast, then I believe that you have that passion. You know the value of literacy in teaching your child to read and write proficiently and independently. We know that it goes beyond the classroom. While we think about that literacy block that they may have with their teachers, the National Summer Learning Association found that students that don't engage in any form of educational activities over the summer break, they lose about 20% of those reading skills that they gained from the school year. So this can be really challenging when we think about our younger students that are just becoming proficient in these reading skills, or our struggling readers that need that extra support and explicit instruction and practice time. This is going to impact them if they are going to be facing a loss of skills that they've worked so hard to acquire. All right, so I'm going to share a variety of different games or activities that you can do over the summer that are just fun, simple games or activities that you can be doing that are going to support your child in maintaining or kind of practicing to become proficient in those key reading and writing skills. I'm going to show you some that are free that you could make at home. I'm also going to show you some that we have purchased. I used in the classroom and students loved. We still play them with Emerson at home because he finds them to be fun. Again, it can be that 5 to 10 minute activity and then we put it away and move on, but it's getting that extra little practice time in. So it's worth checking out. But by no means am I saying you must go out and purchase anything. Again, there's enough free activities, there's enough ways that you can be creative at home that you don't have to go out and spend money. The best tip I can give you is to check out your local library. Not only is it exciting for your child to get and use their own library card to pick out books that they want to engage in, whether they're magazines, comics, fiction, nonfiction, but many libraries actually run summer reading programs. And so I know that here in Barrie, the summer reading program has a variety of activities and opportunities for learning for children to engage in. They're not very long, but I've checked into it and I know that they have story time. They offer escape rooms at some point in the summer. There's going to be firefighters coming to do a demonstration at one of the local libraries. There's going to be an obstacle course with agility dogs that they can check out and learning about dogs. And so again, this might spark their interest in a different topic or content area, which then you can engage them in developing their background knowledge around that. They can learn about vocabulary. It's a really great opportunity that if you go and do any of those activities that are put on by your local library, that you can talk about it, have those conversations. What was your favorite part about that activity? What did you like, not like? What is something new that you learned? What are you wondering about? And I would even encourage, if you're able to, have them draw a picture if they are younger and that's a stage that they're at. Have them do some writing about it, encourage them to write about what happened. Again, writing and reading are really interconnected, and writing helps to solidify any of those phonics patterns that they're trying to figure out, which then will benefit them when they recognize them in reading. So if we can always tie in that writing opportunity, I recommend doing so. But just getting them to reflect and share about those events that they might go to as part of the local library. FaceTime, call a family member to tell them about it, share with a friend. Whatever works to get them talking about it, to build up that background knowledge, vocabulary, their oral language, as well as reading or writing if they go and they want to pick out a book about firefighters or dogs, anything that just is going to draw them in fun and easy ways, just based on a library reading program. Another option is to engage in daily reading. And so daily reading can happen at any time in your day. But if you notice in the morning, it's the perfect time to spend a few minutes where they're going to engage with a book or words, or again, if they are our littles that you're working with and they are still trying to become proficient with looking at a letter and recognizing the letter spells a certain sound, then you have them look at some letters, tell you the sounds, and then write them, whether they write them in the air or on paper. That's going to be that very simple skill that we want to start with for our early learners. And again, our older kiddos can start to actually engage with books, whether you take out decodable books from the library or you print some of the decodable books from previous episodes that are available for free. We want to engage them in reading or putting miles on the page, as we like to say. This also allows for you to read to them, have those conversations, point out any vocabulary or words that they may not have knowledge of yet, and then challenge them to use those words in sentences and conversations throughout the day over the next couple of days. Usually when we talk about vocabulary, if you're explaining a new word, I would recommend picking one or two that you're going to really focus on and be intentional with. But if they come up in a read aloud, it's a really great opportunity to then weave it into those other conversations throughout the day to see if they can understand what that word means and use it in the proper context. Another really great option is that storytelling, allowing for them to be really creative. Oral language is so important when we talk about developing our foundational literacy skills. So give your child the opportunity to come up with stories that they're going to share with you that they can call family members and share with. If you go camping, have them tell a story around the campfire, whether it's spooky or not spooky is up to them and you, but engage them in that thought process around How do we have stories? Emerson will tell you that they need to have a beginning, a middle, and end. In the middle is usually where a problem arises, and then there needs to be a solution. So really working in how do stories typically get created? What are the key points we want to focus on? Where is it happening? Who are the characters? All of those pieces, you can really easily embed those conversations with your child and have them then create a story to share with you in a fun and easy way. Another activity or way to engage your child in some fun reading and writing is to have a book club. This book club could be your child and some of their friends if they're interested, child and family members. It can be done in person, it can be done virtually. But if you pick a book and you have them read little bits and then they come back and talk about it and then they go play at the park, if you're able to do it in person, then you're engaging them in all of the key skills that we want for them to be engaged in, right? They're reading, they're having to retell or talk about it, summarize it with someone else, ask each other questions about it. They could even do some writing or pictures, and then they go off and play. But I know that Emerson has some key books that he loves to read, that if someone was looking to do a book club or sit and read with him for a little bit and then go and play, he would be all in, and there wouldn't be any hesitation to engage in those practices of reading, oral language, comprehension, vocabulary, because he's having fun doing it with other people, and it's a social piece for him. So something to consider if you can swing it, and let me know how that goes. Something that we just started, honestly, by fluke in the car with Emerson is we will dictate sentences to them. They're super simple sentences, and he writes them out on, we just have these dry erase sleeves that we got from Dollar Tree. And then I just printed this lined paper from U-Fly. So again, that paper was free. I just had to print it. You could also put in a blank piece of paper, lined paper, whatever you have. But essentially he uses a dry erase marker and we give him a simple sentence or a word. We go back and forth depending on what he wants to do. And it's worth points. So honestly, the points don't really matter. We just throw out points. He'll say, what is this sentence worth? We'll say 200 points. Doesn't really matter to us. The point is he's engaging in writing sentences. So we'll give him a simple sentence like, the red truck was fast, and he is going to then write it out. We ask him to check for uppercase letters at the beginning or in names, punctuation at the end. Are there spaces in between his words? And then I check it. And if there's an error in a word, we really talk about it. He rewrites it, and then he gets some points for writing the sentence. We also always do a bonus point. So if he had an error in a single word in his sentence, we then give him the opportunity to spell one word to earn those points back. And so it's meant to be fun. The points don't matter to us. We typically make sure that he is successful. So the sentences are simple enough for him to get them, but there are some challenging words in them, whether they're irregular words or words with spelling patterns that he may have not learned yet in school, so that we can talk about it, but we keep it pretty simple and fun. Again, he's working on his letter formation. He's working on proper sentence structure. He is being able to self-assess himself and look and see if he has all the key components. And then when he says, I don't want to play anymore, that's it. He puts the pocket back into the back of the car seat and he moves on and does whatever else he's hoping to do. If you are looking for different word games, if you are a family that enjoys board games and playing different games together, then I have a few options for activities and games that you can go and purchase. But again, it's not something that is required or that I feel like is a must do, because again, I've already given some different activities and ways that you can engage in reading and writing, not only in this episode, but in all the previous episodes before this one. So some games, though, that we enjoy playing as a family are slam words. And so there's just little dice in there. They love slamming it on the table. So yes, it does get a little bit loud. That's fine. It's meant to be that way. And what happens is when they slam it down, they then have to come up with a word based on what they see on the dice. It can be an opportunity to talk about, is this a real word or a nonsense word, in that recognition. But again, it's getting them to really quickly look at a letter, know what the sound is that we typically associate with it, and blend them together. So this is a really fun game that you can play. Boggle, for older students or students that are working on looking at words or letters and pulling together words on their own. You don't have to play the full Boggle game if they're not at that spot, but maybe you take out a few and you roll the dice. or you make smaller words with them, let them make words out of it. But again, a great game to have at home that as they get more proficient in the skills, you'll be able to actually play this game together. So one last game that we just recently purchased and love is Scrabble Slam. And so this game kind of looks at word chaining because there's going to be a 4-letter word on the table and you have to just change one letter or grapheme at a time to change the whole word. So this is going to get them really thinking it's a higher order or higher level phonemic awareness skill. But then you could have them decode the word. If it's just them working on their own, then they could also practice spelling the word. But again, it's just a fun activity and game that you can play together. So another option that is free, and I have talked about IMSE before, you can just make a free account. And with that free account, then you get access to a lot of digital resources for free that you can print or use on the computer. But they have come out with another summer reading packet, which has some different activities that you can use at home with your kiddo. And so it's really great because it also offers some information for families and guardians. There are videos with QR codes that you can check out. So like letter formation, they give a variety of different games for you to play while in the car on the road. There is summer bingo for you to work through and play. If you are looking to do that writing game that I mentioned a few minutes ago, look, they even have a page that you can print for them to write their sentences on that has them practicing whether or not the letter goes below the line, on the line, or above the line. So there's lots of really great activities within this package, and it's something that they do yearly. So they have different reading strategies. I love their little bookmarks that help with the decoding strategy. So I highly recommend checking out this resource. If you're interested in something that's already made, the thought's been put into it, you just got to kind of grab and go some of the activities. And then again, they have these little cute pages that your child might be engaged in and eager to color in all of the different little pieces as a challenge for reading. So be sure to check out IMSE. If you don't have a free account, get one, check out the digital resources so you can print these activities to be using at home over the summer. So with that, I am going to be hitting that 15-minute mark at this point or getting close to it. And I still want to share a website and a picture book with you. So this is going to be the end of the episode on the summer slide. I did my best to keep it short and sweet, knowing that the key takeaway here is that at times students and children are going to lose possibly some of the gains that they have been working on, whether they just haven't become proficient enough in those skills yet. They're not really focused on the routine and explicitly learning them, so they may forget them. And so we want to make sure that at home, we're offering the opportunities to practice those reading and writing skills in easy and fun ways to help try and maintain that level of work that those kiddos have put in over the school year. The website that I would like to share for this episode of the Lit Mom podcast is tvo.me. I will make sure to put it in the show notes, but thinking about how this month is National Indigenous History Month, they have set up a platform that allows for the amplification of Indigenous voices. There are different activities. So if I click on TVO Kids, there are going to be special playlists. They have an online game and it's going to incorporate the 7 grandfather teachings. They have this really cool one about relationships to the land, and the picture is of the Northern Lights, which are my absolute favorite. And it also brings in Indigenous artwork. So I highly recommend checking out this website as part of this episode. All right, so for the picture book, I'm going to share 2 books. They're by the same author, but they are books that I have already shared on social media. However, we really love these books. I can see the value of exploring these books at home over the summer in short little snippets. They're also really great for the classroom if you're looking for a nonfiction opportunity, and your students will absolutely love it. So this is my plug on books by Philip Bunting. There's 3 in this series, but they are just giving facts about some different animals for students in funny ways. The pictures are absolutely adorable. They're not images or actual pictures of the animal, right? They are more of that picture book style, but they're really funny. And so we have learned a lot about these animals. They're labeled. So again, we're talking about all those key features when we're looking for information. This has led to us actually spending a lot of time looking up different animals and getting more information on them, because the information that was provided in the book just wasn't enough, or we couldn't believe that those were the facts about that particular animal. So I have learned a lot about things like the bobbit worm. There are hairy anglerfish, all of these things that I didn't learn about, that as a family, we're like excited to do the learning with Emerson, and it draws him in even more because we're like, I didn't know that. And we want to look it up even more. So I highly recommend The World's Most Marvelous or Ridiculous Animals, as well as The World's Most Pointless Animals. And I believe the third one is The World's Most Atrocious Animals. So check these out if you are looking. Again, nonfiction, that opportunity to talk about facts and information, and do some more research or get more books from the library on that animal if they're really interested and engaged in learning about it. And the last one that I'm going to share, it's not a picture book, but you may have seen previews coming out about The Wild Robot. And so this is by Peter Brown, but I think that this might be a really great book to have your child read if they're at the level of reading on their own or to you with support, because they may make errors and you need to give feedback. Or if they are younger, then you are reading this book to them. But the chapters are super short. Emerson has loved reading this book so far at home. I think this would be great, again, in the classroom to just have short snippets to read where you can. But he has asked that when we finish reading 4 chapters, which again is less than 10 pages, he asked that he can take the book to bed so that he can reread the chapters. So that is how good this book is and how interested Emerson is as a grade 1 student in checking this out. And then there's a movie. So there's the buy-in of read the book first. So then when the movie comes out, you have an understanding of the movie than you might not have had if you just show up to watch it. So The Wild Robot by Peter Brown is also the recommendation that I'm sharing as part of this episode as a chapter book. With that, we have come to the end of episode 5 of season 2 of the Lit Mom podcast. I hope that you have taken away some valuable information, some different ideas that you can use to support your child in continuing to maintain or become proficient in some of their reading and writing skills that they have worked really hard to develop over the school year. I will be back for episode 6, talking about irregular words or heart words. If your child ever comes home and talks about those, I'll give you the lowdown on what heart words are and how you can support with that learning connected to those types of words at home. As always, I'm Dev, the host of the Lit Mom podcast, the podcast where we bring literacy tips and tricks straight to your headphones. Until next time, keep learning, keep reading, keep growing.